Rain hammered the windshield like angry fists as I pulled up to the Grand Pines Resort. My wipers slapped back and forth, barely keeping up with the downpour. I killed the engine and sat there for a second, staring at the warm glow spilling from the massive lodge windows. $87,000. That's what this weekend had cost me, every penny of it mine. Rooms for 32 people, the private dock, the catered meals, the open bar, the flowers on every table, even the damn welcome banners with our family name embroidered in gold thread. All of it so we could finally be together after Mom died. I grabbed the umbrella from the passenger seat, but the wind snatched it the second I stepped out. Cold water soaked through my cream-colored coat instantly. My heels sank into the gravel as I hurried toward the entrance, heart already pounding with that stupid, hopeful flutter I couldn't quite kill. This was supposed to be my gift. My way of saying we could still be a family even with her gone. The lobby smelled of pine, wood smoke, and something savory, probably the rehearsal dinner I'd approved the menu for. I shook water from my hair and approached the wide oak reception desk. A young woman with a neat ponytail looked up, her smile professional and bright. Hi, I'm Mia Thompson. Checking in for the Thompson family reunion. He tapped at her tablet, then frowned slightly. Thompson reunion. Let me see. I smiled, wiping rain from my cheek. I booked the whole North Wing and the event pavilion. Should be under my name. Her fingers kept moving. The smile faded. I'm sorry, ma'am. I don't see you on the guest list. A nervous laugh escaped me. That can't be right. I have the confirmation email. Here, I pulled out my phone, fingers slippery, and opened the folder I'd saved everything in. Confirmation numbers, receipts, the contract with the resort manager I'd spoken to 3 times. She glanced at the screen politely, but her expression didn't change. I'm afraid there's no reservation under Mia Thompson. The Thompson reunion is already in progress. Perhaps there's been a mix-up with another family member. My stomach tightened. No mix-up. I paid for everything. Call your manager. Or better let me speak to Brooke Thompson. She's my sister. She can clear this up. The woman hesitated, then picked up a phone. While she murmured into it, I turned toward the tall glass doors that opened into the main hall. Through the rain-streaked panes, I could see them. Dad stood near the stone fireplace, glass of whiskey in hand, laughing at something Jake had just said. My brother looked relaxed for once, his arms slung around his wife's shoulders. Brooke, my little sister, wore the deep green dress I'd sent her last month for her birthday. She was glowing, raising a champagne flute as someone clinked a spoon against a glass. The family who actually shows up, her voice carried faintly through the glass, followed by warm laughter and applause. The words hit like a slap. Actually shows up. As if I hadn't driven 6 hours from Chicago in this storm. As if I hadn't spent months coordinating flights for cousins, dietary restrictions for Uncle Ray, and activities that would make Mom proud. Ma'am. The receptionist's voice pulled me back. A broad-shouldered security guard now stood beside her, hands clasped in front of him. Problem? I asked, keeping my voice steady even as heat crawled up my neck. I'm sorry, the guard said, not unkindly. Your name isn't on the list. Management has been very clear, no exceptions. You'll need to leave the premises. I stared at him. This is insane. I have the contracts. I wired the deposit myself. Look, I shoved the phone at him, emails open, bank transfers highlighted. My hands were shaking now, rain and rage blurring the screen. He barely glanced. I can only go by what's in the system. The family inside has confirmed the guest list. You're not on it. Through the window, Brooke laughed again, throwing her head back the way she did when she was truly happy. Jake clapped Dad on the back. The whole scene looked like a painting, warm, golden, complete without me. I felt the exact moment something inside my chest cracked open. Not just hurt. Something sharper, colder. Tell my sister I'm here, I said, voice low. Tell Brooke her big sister paid for her perfect weekend and she can damn well come out and explain why I'm standing in the rain like a stranger. Asterisk the guard's jaw tightened. Ma'am, I need you to step back. If you cause a scene, I'll have to escort you off the property. Asterisk I took one step toward the glass doors anyway. Inside, someone started playing Mom's favorite old song on the piano, the one she used to hum while making Sunday pancakes. The notes drifted out, faint and mocking. Asterisk my reflection in the glass looked like a ghost, wet hair plastered to my forehead, mascara starting to run, eyes wide with disbelief. I had driven here believing this weekend would heal us. That finally, after 2 years of being the one who held everything together, paying Dad's endless medical bills, bailing Jake out of another business disaster, funding Brooke's endless needs, I would get to sit at the table as one of them. Not the wallet, not the fixer, just Mia. Asterisk instead, they had erased me. Asterisk the guard touched my elbow, gentle but firm. Time to go, ma'am. Asterisk I yanked my arm away, but I didn't fight him. Not yet. My gaze stayed locked on Brooke as she leaned in to whisper something to Jake. They both smiled like they shared a secret. Asterisk rain poured down my neck. My coat clung heavy and cold. Asterisk this wasn't going to end with their laughter echoing into the night. Asterisk I turned away from the doors, shoes squelching, and walked back into the storm. But as I reached my car, my phone buzzed in my pocket. A text from an unknown number. Asterisk we know what you did. Stay away or everyone finds out the truth. Asterisk my fingers froze on the door handle. The screen lit up again with another message. Asterisk you were never supposed to come. Asterisk I stared at the words, heart hammering against my ribs, while thunder rolled over the lake. The motel sign flickered like a dying heartbeat lakeside in cracked red neon. I pulled into the lot, tires crunching over loose gravel, and killed the engine. Rain still drummed on the roof, but it felt distant now, muffled by the numbness settling in my bones. My phone sat heavy in my lap, those 2 texts glowing on the screen like accusations. We know what you did. Stay away or everyone finds out the truth. You were never supposed to come. I didn't recognize the number. Probably one of Jake's burner phones or one of Brooke's disposable grudges. My hands trembled as I forwarded them to myself for safekeeping, then deleted the original's evidence. That's what this had become. The front desk clerk was an older man with a stained polo and a cigarette permanently tucked behind his ear. He slid a key across the counter without asking questions. Room 12, $38 a night. A far cry from the luxury suites I'd paid for across the lake. I dragged my suitcase through the door and flipped on the light. The room smelled of mildew and old cigarettes. Brown carpet, sagging queen bed, a heater that rattled like it was on its last legs. I dropped onto the edge of the mattress, water dripping from my coat onto the floor, and let the silence press in. 2 years. That's how long I'd been carrying them. It started the night Mom's heart finally gave out in that sterile Chicago hospital room. The beeps flatlined while I held her cold hand, whispering promises I didn't know how to keep. Dad had collapsed in the hallway. Jake was somewhere between jobs and bottles, and Brooke was on a girls' trip in Miami that she refused to cut short. I handled the arrangements, alone picked the casket, wrote the obituary, negotiated with the funeral home because none of them could stomach the cost. Mom would have wanted the mahogany one. I'd told the director, swiping my card for $11,000 without blinking. When Jake called the next day, hungover and broke, I wired him another $5,000 for travel expenses. Brooke needed help with the flowers she wanted flown in from California. Dad's blood pressure meds weren't covered fully by insurance. I paid. I always paid. I stood up and peeled off my soaked coat, hanging it over the shower rod. In the foggy mirror, my reflection looked wrecked. Mascara tracks, hair plastered flat, eyes hollow. I splashed cold water on my face and tried to breathe. Flashbacks came whether I wanted them or not. Last spring, Jake's construction company was circling the drain. He showed up at my downtown Chicago apartment at midnight, cap in hand, smelling like whiskey and desperation. Sis, it's just a short-term loan. One big project and I'm back on top. The kids need this. Sarah's threatening to leave if I can't get my shit together. I sat across from him at my kitchen island, the city lights glittering behind us. How much this time? 45,000. His voice cracked. Please, Mia, you're the only one who's ever believed in me. I wired it the next morning. 3 months later, the project fell through. He never paid me back. Instead, he asked for more to keep the crew paid. Brooke was smoother about it. Her destination wedding in Cabo last year had been my gift flights, villa, the whole ridiculous package. But then came the honeymoon upgrade because the original suite didn't have the right view. Another 12 grand. When she called crying about her new business venture needing startup capital, I hesitated. Mia, you know I've always been the creative one, she said over the phone, voice honey sweet. Mom always said you were the responsible one. This is my chance to finally shine. Don't you want that for me? I wanted her to shine. I wanted all of them to stop drowning. So I sent it. The reunion was supposed to change things. My idea, my money. A weekend where we could remember Mom without the weight of grief and bills crushing us. I'd spent weeks in spreadsheets, menu approvals, activity schedules, even a private boat tour on the lake she loved. I texted Brooke constantly for input. Her replies grew shorter. Looks good. Whatever you think. Then radio silence for days. I chalked it up to her being busy with the kids. Now I knew better. I pulled my laptop from my bag and sat cross-legged on the lumpy bed, the heater finally kicking on with a groan. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. Part of me wanted to drive home to Chicago, lick my wounds, and cut them all off. But another part, the part that still ached for. Mom's Sunday pancakes and Dad's rare, proud, smiles needed answers. I opened the shared drive where I'd stored all the reunion. Documents, reservations, payments, the final headcount email Brooke was supposed to confirm 2 weeks ago, nothing. Looked wrong on the surface. But when I checked the resort's confirmation portal using my booking reference, the guest list had been edited. My name removed. My suite reassigned. The payment still traced back to my account, but the contact person listed was now Brooke Thompson. My chest tightened. I grabbed my phone and dialed her number. Straight to voicemail. Brooke, it's Mia. I'm at the motel down the road. What the hell is going on? Call me back now. I hung up and tried Jake. Same thing. Dad's phone rang twice before going to voicemail too. The silence in the room felt suffocating. I scrolled through old texts looking for clues I'd missed. There it was, a group chat screenshot from cousin Leela 3 months ago. She'd sent it by accident, I thought at the time. A conversation I wasn't part of. Brooke, Mia's being extra controlling again about the reunion. Jake, she always is. Walking Wallet thinks she owns us. Leela. Guys, come on. She's paying for everything. Brooke. Exactly. That's the problem. I'd brushed it off as sibling venting. Family being family. Now it felt like a warning. A soft knock at the motel door made me jump. I froze, heart slamming against my ribs. The knock came again, sharper. Mia. It's me. Open up. Ryan's voice. My husband. The one person I thought was still on my side. I crossed the room slowly, chain still latched, and cracked the door. He stood there in the rain, hair plastered to his forehead, eyes guilty. We need to talk, he said quietly. Right now, his face told me everything I didn't want to know. And in that moment, I realized the betrayal might run deeper than my siblings. I unlatched the chain and stepped back, letting Ryan slip inside. He brought the storm with him, rain dripping from his navy jacket onto the threadbare carpet, the sharp scent of wet wool mixing with the motel's mildew. His eyes darted around the sad little room before landing on me. He looked like he hadn't slept. Mia, baby, I drove straight here when I heard, he said, reaching for my arm. I pulled away, folding my arms tight across my chest. The wet coat still hung in the bathroom, dripping steadily like a metronome counting down my patience. Heard what? Exactly. That your wife was locked out of the family reunion she paid for with her own damn money. He ran a hand through his soaked hair, leaving it sticking up in messy spikes. The small desk lamp cast harsh shadows under his eyes. Look, I tried to talk them out of it. Brooke swore it was just last-minute logistics. I didn't think they'd actually what? My voice cracked despite myself. I sank onto the edge of the bed, the springs groaning under my weight. The heater rattled on again, blowing lukewarm air that did nothing to warm the chill settling deeper in my bones. Erase me? Pretend I don't exist after I wired $87,000 so they could all play happy family? Ryan paced the narrow strip of carpet between the bed and the dresser, his shoes leaving muddy prints. He wouldn't meet my eyes. They've been stressed. Jake's business is worse than he let on. Brooke's got the kids acting out since your mom passed. They thought if you came, it'd turn into another lecture about money and responsibility. I laughed, but it sounded hollow, bitter. A lecture. That's what they call me checking that everyone's okay. That dad's not skipping his meds again. I grabbed my phone from the nightstand, the screen still open to Brooke's voicemail. I drove through a storm for this, for them. And they toast to family who actually shows up while I stand outside like some beggar. He stopped pacing and sat beside me close enough that his knee brushed mine. The familiarity of his cologne sandalwood and something citrus used to comfort me. Tonight it turned my stomach. I know, it's messed up. But maybe give them tonight. Cool off. We can sort it in the morning. I stared at him. Really looked. The way his fingers twitched against his thigh, the slight sheen of sweat on his forehead despite the cold. Something was off. Ryan, how did you even know I was here? I didn't text you. He hesitated, just a beat too long. Leela mentioned it. She saw you at the gate or something. Liar. Leela hadn't texted me once. I stood up abruptly and grabbed my laptop from the bedspread. Fine. If you're here to help, help. There's a group chat I got screenshots of months ago. Help me find the rest. He shifted uncomfortably but didn't stop me as I opened the files. My fingers flew across the keys, pulling up old emails and forwarded messages. Cousin Leela had accidentally included me in a thread once back in March. I'd laughed it off in typical sibling griping. Now I searched every folder, every archived message, my pulse quickening. There it was. A hidden chat exported by Leela weeks ago, titled Family Stuff. No, Mia, she must have sent it as insurance, or maybe guilt. I clicked it open. The messages loaded like poison. Brooke, can we talk about the reunion without Mia turning it into her therapy session? She's been CCing me on every damn receipt like we're employees. Jake, walking wallet strikes again. Remember when she guilted me about the loan? Family helps family, but only if she gets to play God. Uncle Ray, she means well, but it's a lot. Always has been since your mom got sick. Brooke means well. She loves the control. Mom's gone and now Mia thinks she's the new matriarch. We need this weekend to actually bond without her hovering. My throat tightened. I scrolled faster, the blue light of the screen reflecting in my widening eyes. Ryan leaned in, reading over my shoulder, his breath warm against my ear. Jesus, he muttered. Then the worst part, Jake, we good on the rumor if she shows up anyway. Brooke, yeah, Mark already told Sarah you two were getting too close. Affair vibes. That'll keep her from pushing the will questions. Asterisk Brooke's husband, smart, keeps her distracted. No one needs her digging into the old lady's papers this weekend. Asterisk I froze. The words blurred. Affair? With Jake's wife, Sarah. My brother's wife. The lie was so ridiculous, so vicious. It stole the air from my lungs. I pictured Sarah quiet, kind, always texting me thank yous for the kids' birthday gifts I sent. And they'd weaponize the asterisk Ryan. I whispered, voice barely there. Did you know about this? Asterisk he stood up quickly, moving to the window. Rain lashed the glass. Mia. It's not what it looks like. They were just blowing off steam. No one actually believes. Asterisk stop. I slammed the laptop shut. My hands shook as I set it aside. Heat flooded my face. Humiliation, rage, a grief so sharp it felt like Mom was dying all over again. I had sat by her bed alone, reading her favorite books while machines beeped. I had held Dad while he cried. And this was how they repaid me. By painting me as some homewrecker so they could steal my place at the table I built. Asterisk tears burned, but I blinked them back. Get out. Asterisk Mia, wait, he reached for me again. Asterisk a sharp knock cut him off. 3 hard raps on the motel door. We both startled. Asterisk, I wiped my face and crossed the room, peering through the peephole. Cousin Lila stood outside, hood up, eyes wide and nervous under the flickering neon. Asterisk, I opened the door. Lila, what are you? Asterisk, she stepped inside quickly, shaking rain from her coat. Her gaze flicked to Ryan, then back to me. You need to see this. Right now. Before they delete everything. Asterisk, she pulled out her phone, thumbs flying. On the screen, a new thread, timestamps from just hours ago. Brick, Jake, Dad, and Ryan's name right there in the mix. Asterisk, my stomach dropped as I read the latest message. Asterisk, Ryan, she's at the motel. I'll keep her busy tonight. Don't let her near the dock ceremony tomorrow. Asterisk, Lila's voice was low, urgent. They're planning something bigger than just excluding you. Mia, and it involves Mom's will. Asterisk, Ryan's face went pale beside me. Asterisk, the room suddenly felt too small. The walls closing in as thunder cracked outside. The words on Lila's screen burned into my retinas. Ryan, she's at the motel. I'll keep her busy tonight. The phone trembled in my cousin's hand as rain hammered the window behind her. I felt the floor tilt beneath me, the cheap motel carpet suddenly unsteady under my feet. Ryan. My voice came out small at first, then sharper. Explain this now. He backed up a step, bumping into the dresser. The lamp wobbled, casting wild shadows across his face. Water still dripped from his jacket, forming a dark puddle that spread toward my shoes. Mia, it's not I can explain. Just let me. Lila crossed her arms, her raincoat squeaking. She looked smaller than usual, swallowed by the oversized hood, but her eyes were steel. Don't let him spin it. Mia, I saw the whole thread before they booted me. I turned on him fully, the betrayal uncoiling like a live wire in my chest. 8 years of marriage. Late night talks about starting a family, lazy Sundays making pancakes the way Mom taught me. The way he'd rub my shoulders after I'd spent another weekend bailing out Jake or wiring money to Dad. All of it poisoned now. Start talking. I said, my tone flat and cold. I crossed to the bed and sat down hard, gripping the edge of the mattress to keep my hands from shaking. The heater clanked on again, blowing dusty air that smelled of burnt wires. Ryan swallowed, his Adam's apple bobbing. He wouldn't look at Lila. Okay, fine. I knew they were planning to keep you away from the main events. Brooke said it was because things get tense when you're around, always the one paying, always reminding everyone of the sacrifices. She promised. She said if I helped smooth it over, there'd be something in it for us. For you, too. Something? I laughed bitterly, the sound scraping my throat raw. Like what? My own family's respect. Or did she dangle Mom's money? He flinched. The silence stretched, broken only by the rain and the distant hum of a truck passing on the highway. When he spoke again, his voice was lower, almost pleading. The trust fund. Your mom revised it before she passed. Brooke found out there's a big chunk that could be redirected if you weren't at the reunion for the reading. She said we could finally buy that house up north. Get out from under the debt. My stomach twisted. I remembered the late nights Ryan spent working on spreadsheets, the new watch he'd bought himself last month. The way our savings account balance had been creeping down despite my promotions. Debt? I whispered. What debt, Ryan? He sank into the rickety desk chair, elbows on his knees, head in his hands. The chair creaked under his weight. Gambling. It started small sports baits during the playoffs. Then it got bigger. I thought I could win it back. I took some from the joint account. Then more. Brooke knew. She covered a couple payments for me in exchange for help with this weekend. Leela made a disgusted sound in her throat. And the affair rumor. You helped spread that too. Ryan's head snapped up. That was Jake's idea. I just didn't correct it. Sarah and Mia are close. It was believable enough to keep people from asking questions. He looked at me then, eyes red-rimmed and desperate. I was going to tell you everything after this weekend. Once we had the money, I could fix it. We could fix us. The room spun. I stood up slowly, legs heavy, and walked to the bathroom. My reflection in the mirror was a stranger pale cheeks, smudged mascara, hair still damp and wild from the storm. I splashed cold water on my face, the shock of it grounding me for half a second. When I came back out, Ryan was on his feet again, reaching for me. "Don't," I said, stepping back. My voice broke despite the anger boiling underneath. "You stood in our kitchen last month and told me everything was fine. You kissed me goodbye when I left for this trip, knowing they were locking me out. You let them call me the walking wallet while you helped them steal what Mom left me." Tears slipped down my cheeks now, hot and angry. I didn't wipe them away. Let him see what he'd done. I sat with Mom every single night she was sick. I held her hand when she was scared. Where were you? Where were they? And still, I paid for all of it. The funeral, the bills, this goddamn reunion. Because that's what family does. Ryan's shoulders slumped. "Mia, please. I love you. This was supposed to help us. Get out." The words left me hollow but firm. I grabbed his jacket from the chair and shoved it at his chest. "We're done. I'll file for divorce first thing in the morning. Freeze the accounts tonight." He tried one more time, hand on the doorknob, voice cracking. "Think about what you're throwing away." "I'm not throwing anything away," I said quietly. "You already did." The door clicked shut behind him. Leela and I stood in the sudden quiet, the rain softer now against the window. She touched my shoulder gently. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "There's more. About the will. Mom changed it because of them Jake's temper, Brooke's schemes. She left you everything for a reason." I nodded numbly, sinking back onto the bed. The laptop still sat close beside me, full of evidence I didn't want but desperately needed. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. An unknown number again. I picked it up with shaking fingers and opened the message. "Ryan just told us everything. The will reading is happening tomorrow whether you're there or not. Stay gone, or we make sure Chicago hears what you really did to Mom's estate." My blood ran cold. Leela leaned in, reading over my shoulder, her breath catching. Outside, headlights swept across the parking lot. A car door slammed. Someone was coming. The headlights cut through the thin motel curtains like searchlights. Another car door slammed, followed by heavy footsteps splashing through puddles. My heart slammed against my ribs as I crossed to the window and peered out, Leela right behind me. The rain had eased to a drizzle, but the parking lot lights reflected off wet asphalt in oily streaks. A familiar figure climbed out of a battered blue sedan Leela's car. "Wait." I glanced at her. She gave me a small, tense nod. I parked around back earlier and walked over. "That's probably Jake or one of Brooke's friends checking the lot. They're paranoid tonight." I let the curtain fall. The room felt even smaller now, the walls pressing in with their faded floral wallpaper peeling at the corners. The heater had finally gone quiet, leaving only the drip of the bathroom faucet and our breathing. Leela pulled two lukewarm sodas from her coat pockets and handed me one. The can was slick with condensation, grounding me a little. "You shouldn't be here," I said, cracking it open. The hiss sounded too loud. "If they find out you're helping me, they already suspect." She sat on the edge of the bed, her sneakers muddy and untied. At 31, Leela had always been the quiet observer in our loud family faded jeans, oversized sweaters, the one who showed up with homemade casseroles, but never asked for anything. Tonight her hands twisted in her lap like she was holding something fragile. I've been watching this unfold for months. I couldn't stay quiet anymore. I leaned against the dresser, the wood digging into my back. My soaked socks left damp prints on the carpet. "Tell me everything." No sugarcoating. Leela took a deep breath, eyes fixed on the ugly brown carpet. "It started when Aunt Ellen, your mom, got really sick. She called me one afternoon when you were at work, asked me to witness something at her lawyer's office. A new will. My fingers tightened around the soda can. The metal creaked. Mom's face flashed in my mind, pale against the hospital pillow, oxygen tube under her nose, but her grip on my hand still surprisingly strong. "You've always been my rock, Mia," she'd whispered during those long nights I sat with her while the others made excuses. Leela continued, voice soft but steady. "She left the bulk of it to you? The lake house, the investments, almost $2.4 million once everything clears. The rest is small trust for the grandkids, with you as executor." She was clear about why. Jake's gambling and anger issues. Brooke's creative accounting with her business. Your dad's denial about how bad things got. She said you were the only one who showed up without expecting a handout. Tears pricked my eyes. I turned away, staring at the cracked mirror above the dresser. My reflection looked exhausted, strands of damp hair sticking to my neck. "They know." Leela nodded. "Brooke found the paperwork in your mom's safe after the funeral. They confronted the lawyer, but he wouldn't budge. So they came up with this." She gestured vaguely toward the resort across the lake. "Exclude you from the reunion. Paint you as unstable, controlling, the grieving daughter who's not thinking clearly. Spread enough rumors that if the will gets challenged, a judge might side with them." The affair's story was just the start. I sank down next to her on the bed. The mattress dipped under our weight. Memories flooded in unbidden. Jake showing up drunk at Mom's hospice room, yelling about money. Brooke posting perfect family photos on social media while I handled the medical bills alone. The way they'd all thanked me with tight smiles and empty promises. I thought if I paid for the reunion, if I brought everyone together. "You were trying to fix what they broke," Leela said gently. She reached over and squeezed my hand. Her fingers were cold but steady. "That's what you do." But they don't want fixing. They want control of the money without the conditions you'd enforce. Outside, another car passed slowly on the road. Headlights swept the room again. We both tensed until it faded. Leela pulled out her phone and showed me scanned documents, faint but legible. Mom's signature, dated 6 months before she died. A letter attached in her shaky handwriting. "Mia has carried us long enough. Protect what's left for the ones who deserve it." I traced the words with my fingertip, feeling the ghost of Mom's presence in every loop of ink. "Why are you telling me this now?" I asked, voice thick. "You could have stayed out of it. Kept the peace." Leela's laugh was short and bitter. She tucked a strand of wet hair behind her ear. "Peace, they've been bullying me since we were kids. The weird cousin who never had money or status. Last month, Brooke told me if I didn't help keep you away, she'd make sure my bakery loan got denied." "I'm done, Mia. Someone has to stand up." We sat in silence for a long moment. The soda can sweated in my hand, leaving a ring on my jeans. Exhaustion pulled at me, but beneath it, something sharper was forming resolve, maybe even anger sharp enough to cut. "I'm crashing the dinner tomorrow," I said finally. "The formal one in the main hall. I still have the dress Mom bought me. The pearls." Leela's eyes widened. "That's bold." "They'll lose it. Good." I stood up, energy returning in a slow burn. "I need proof. The full will. The forgeries, if they've started them." "Anything you have," she nodded and pulled a USB drive from her pocket, pressing it into my palm. It was warm from her hand. Everything I could copy. "Be careful. Jake's been drinking, and Brooke. She's desperate." A sharp knock rattled the door again, 3 quick raps, then 2 more. Not tentative this time. Leela froze. I moved to the peephole, pulse racing. Through the distorted glass, I saw my father's face, rain dripping from his cap, eyes tired and conflicted. "Open the door, Mia." Dad's voice came through, muffled but unmistakable. "We need to talk before this gets worse." Leela grabbed her coat, whispering, "I'll slip out the bathroom window." "Don't trust everything he says." As she disappeared into the tiny bathroom, I stood with my hand on the doorknob, heart pounding. Dad had never been good at choosing sides, but the USB drive burned in my pocket like a promise, and for the first time tonight, I felt ready for whatever came next. I opened the door just enough for Dad to slip inside. The chain still latched until I was sure he was alone. He looked smaller than I remembered, shoulders hunched under a damp flannel shirt, silver stubble catching the dim light, eyes bloodshot from what was probably more than one whiskey at the resort bar. The scent of pine and rain clung to him, mixed with the faint trace of Mom's old lavender soap he still used. "Mia," he started, voice rough. He glanced around the shabby room, taking in the sagging bed and the soda cans on the nightstand. "This isn't right. You shouldn't be out here. No kidding." I closed the door behind him, the lock clicking loudly. My arms stayed cross-tight over my chest, holding myself together. The USB drive from Leela pressed against my thigh through my pocket like a secret weapon. I paid for the best suites on the lake and I'm sleeping in a place that smells like regret. "Why are you here, Dad?" To finally explain why my own family treated me like a virus at the reunion I funded. He sighed heavily and lowered himself into the desk chair. It creaked under his weight, just like it had for Ryan earlier. The parallels made my stomach turn. Your sister and brother, they're hurting too. This weekend was supposed to be about remembering your mother without all the complications. I let out a sharp laugh that hurt my throat. You mean me paying every bill since Mom died? The hospital, the funeral with the mahogany casket she deserved, Jake's failing business, Brooke's wedding, the endless medical copays? Those complications. Dad rubbed his face with both hands. The lines around his eyes looked deeper in the harsh lamplight. For a moment, I saw the man who used to carry me on his shoulders at county fairs before grief and denial had worn him down. "We appreciate everything, sweetheart. But the will, things got messy. Your mom changed it at the end. Brooke found out and she's scared. We all are." I stepped closer, my damp socks silent on the carpet, scared I'd actually hold them accountable. "Mom left it to me for a reason. I have proof." His head snapped up. "Mia, don't do this. Just come back to the house tomorrow. We'll talk as a family." No scenes. The word family landed like a slap. I turned away, grabbing the garment bag I'd hung on the bathroom door earlier. Inside was the deep emerald dress Mom had bought me to Christmases ago, silk that whispered when I moved, tailored perfectly. She'd said it made me look like I could run the world. "Tonight I would. I'm coming to dinner," I said quietly, unzipping the bag. The fabric spilled out like liquid. The formal one in the main hall. "I suggest you warn them." Dad stood up fast, chair scraping back. "Mia, please. You're making it worse than erasing me." I met his eyes in the mirror as I slipped the dress over my head. The silk was cool against my skin, still carrying the faint scent of the cedar closet where I'd kept it. I fastened the pearl necklace Mom gave me with the dress cool beads against my collarbone. My hair was a mess, but I twisted it into a quick updo. The woman staring back looked like someone who belonged at the head table, not a motel on the edge of town. Dad watched me, something like regret flickering across his face. "You look just like her." The words stung more than any insult. I grabbed my keys and purse. Good, maybe they'll remember who actually showed up for her. The drive back to the resort was quiet except for the tires hissing on wet roads. Dad followed in his car, but I didn't wait for him at the valet stand. I walked straight through the grand lobby, heels clicking confidently on marble, head high despite the knot in my stomach. The same receptionist from earlier widened her eyes but said nothing. The main dining hall glowed under crystal chandeliers. Long tables draped in white linen, centerpieces of white roses and eucalyptus that I had personally approved and paid for. Laughter and clinking silverware filled the air. My family sat at the head table like royalty. I paused in the wide doorway. Heads turned. Conversations died. Brooke spotted me first. Her champagne glass froze halfway to her lips. The green dress she wore, the one I'd bought her, suddenly looked cheap under the lights. Jake's fork clattered against his plate. Dad slipped in behind me, murmuring something I couldn't hear. I walked straight to the center of the room, the silk of my dress brushing my legs with every step. The pearls felt warm now against my skin. "Good evening, everyone," I said, voice carrying across the suddenly quiet hall. A few distant relatives whispered, Children stared with wide eyes, enjoying the reunion I planned, the food I selected, the wine I paid for with the money I earned while sitting at Mom's bedside. Brooke stood up, face flushed. "Mia, this isn't the time. It's exactly the time." I turned slowly, meeting eyes around the room. Effective immediately, I'm canceling the rest of the weekend. The open bar closed. Tomorrow's boat tour canceled. The final brunch? You can fight over the bill at checkout because my card is no longer on file. Gasps rippled through the room. Jake pushed back his chair, face reddening. "You can't do that. I can." And I did. My voice didn't waver, even as my heart hammered. "You wanted a family reunion without me? Fine, but you don't get to do it on my dime." Brooke's husband tried to step forward, but she grabbed his arm. Dad looked stricken, caught between tables. One of my aunts covered her mouth, eyes glistening. I locked eyes with Brooke across the centerpiece. Mom saw who we really are. And so do I now. The silence was deafening. Then Jake slammed his fist on the table, rattling glasses. "This is bullshit. You're unstable, Mia. Everyone sees it." Security moved toward me from the side entrance, but I held up my hand. For one perfect, shattering moment, I saw the cracks in their perfect facade, Brooke's trembling lip, Jake's clenched jaw, Dad's defeated slumped dot. But as I turned to leave, my phone buzzed in my purse. I glanced down at the screen, a video file from Leela. The thumbnail showed Brooke and Jake in what looked like the resort library. Heads close together. The message read, "Play this now." My finger hovered over the play button as two security guards reached my side. Whoever was on that video was about to change everything. The night air wrapped around me like a damp shroud as I stood under the resort's grand entrance, Mom's emerald dress fluttering in the breeze off the lake. The threatening voice still echoed in my ear. "We have more than rumors." The night Mom died. My phone felt heavy in my hand, the screen glowing with Leela's video file. Security had let me go after the dinner scene, but I could feel eyes on me from the windows, curious, judgmental, afraid. I didn't go back to the motel. Instead, I walked the lighted path toward the private beach where the evening bonfire was already crackling. Orange flames leapt high, casting long shadows over Adirondack chairs and blankets. Laughter and guitar music drifted on the wine, the scent of wood smoke and marshmallows mixing with pine. My family had moved to party here after I left, pretending the dinner interruption was just a minor disruption. Not anymore. Leela appeared at my side like a ghost, her hoodie zipped high against the chill. "You ready?" she whispered, slipping the USB drive into my palm. Her fingers were ice cold. "It's brutal, but it's the truth." I nodded, throat tight. The silk dress felt like battle armor now, pearls cool and steady against my racing pulse. We approached the bonfire circle. Heads turned again. Brooke spotted me first, her face hardening in the firelight. Jake stood abruptly, knocking over a beer bottle that fizzed into the sand. "What the hell are you doing back here?" Jake growled, stepping forward. His boots left deep prints in the sand. "Haven't embarrassed us enough." Dad hovered near the fire pit, poking at logs with a stick, avoiding my eyes. A dozen relatives watched in awkward silence, marshmallows forgotten on sticks. I ignored Jake and walked straight to the small AV stand the resort had set up for music and announcements. My hands shook only slightly as I plugged in the drive and connected to the projector screen they'd used earlier for family photos. The screen flickered to life above the fire, bathing everyone in cool blue light. "Mia, don't," Brooke started. Voice sharp with panic, too late. I hit play. The video filled the screen, clear and damning. It was shot from a hidden angle in one of the resort's private meeting rooms, Leela's quiet work. Brooke and Jake sat at a polished table, heads close, wine glasses half empty. "She's losing it." Brooke's voice came through the speakers, crisp and venomous. "We tell everyone she's been unstable since Mom died. Obsessed with control. If we get the will thrown out, we split it fairly." Jake leaned in, smirking. "The forgery on the old documents is solid. At the affair rumor with Sarah and no judge will take her side. She's the outsider now." Walking wallet who finally cracked. The recording continued, every cruel word echoing over the bonfire. Dad will go along if we pressure him. Ryan's keeping her distracted at the motel. By tomorrow's wedding, it'll be done. Guests rose around the fire. Someone dropped a drink. Sarah, Jake's wife, turned to him slowly, face pale. You started that rumor. About Mia and me. Jake sputtered. It's not, babe. They're twisting it. On screen, Brooke laughed coldly. Mia thinks she's the hero because she paid for everything. She has no idea what Mom really wanted. We make her look crazy, and the money is ours. The video ended on a frozen frame of their smug faces. Silence crashed over the beach, broken only by the crackle of flames and distant waves lapping the shore. Then chaos erupted. You bastards, Sarah whispered, then louder, grabbing her purse. I'm done. She stormed off toward the lodge, Jake scrambling after her. Brooke whirled on me, eyes wild in the firelight. This is illegal. You spied on us. You're the one who's unhinged. Her voice cracked, mascara starting to run. She looked smaller suddenly, the perfect sister facade crumbling. Uncle Ray stood up slowly, shaking his head. I came here to remember Ellen, not watch her children destroy each other. Dad finally met my gaze across the flames. His face was ashen, shoulders slumped like the weight of every unpaid bill and missed hospital visit had finally landed. Mia, I didn't know it had gone this far. Leela stepped up beside me, her quiet presence louder than any shout. You all knew enough. You just didn't care. I stood tall in the firelight, the dress shimmering, pearls glowing warm. Tears burned in my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. This was the family I had sacrificed for, exposed now, raw and ugly. The betrayal hurt deeper than I expected, a hollow ache in my chest where love used to live. But beneath it, something stronger stirred. Freedom, maybe. Or justice. As relatives began gathering their things, murmuring in disgust, my phone buzzed again. I glanced down, a new text from Ryan's number. I'm sorry, but they have the original will and hospital records. Meet me at the dock in 10 minutes, or it all comes out about the night she died. You know what really happened? My blood ran cold. The dock was dark, isolated, waves slapping against the pilings in the distance. I slipped the phone into my clutch and started walking that way, heels sinking into cool sand. Heart pounding with dread and determination, whatever Ryan was about to confess could either save me or destroy what was left of my family forever. The wooden dock stretched dark and slick into the lake, waves lapping hungrily at the pilings below. A single security light buzzed overhead, casting a weak yellow pool that barely reached the end where Ryan waited. His silhouette was hunched against the railing, shoulders tense under his damp jacket. The night air smelled of pine, fish, and coming rain again. My emerald dress caught on a splintered board as I approached, the silk now smudged with sand and ash from the bonfire. You came, he said quietly, turning. His eyes were red, face shadowed with exhaustion and something like shame. The confident man I'd married years ago was gone, replaced by this hollow version. I stopped a few feet away, arms wrapped around myself against the chill rolling off the water. The pearls at my throat felt heavier than ever. Talk fast. I'm done with games. Ryan. He ran a hand through his messy hair, staring out at the black water where distant resort lights shimmered like broken stars. The video. It's everywhere now. People are leaving. Brooke's losing her mind. She called me screaming. Good, my voice was steady, but inside, the ache from the bonfire still throbbed. I could still hear Jake's recorded laugh, Brooke's casual cruelty. You said you had information about Mom's death. About the will. Start there. Ryan shifted, the dock creaking under his weight. I don't have proof about the night she died. That was a bluff to get you here. But the will. Brooke showed me the original. Your mom left everything to you for a reason. She knew. Footsteps sounded behind me. I tensed, but it was Dad, walking slowly down the dock with a worn envelope in his trembling hands. His flannel shirt was wrinkled, eyes glassy in the dim light. He looked like a man who'd finally run out of excuses. Mia, he said, voice cracking. I should have given you this weeks ago. Your mother wrote it for you only. I let them talk me out of it. He held out the envelope. The paper was soft, creased from being hidden. I took it with shaking fingers, the ink on the front reading from my Mia in Mom's familiar, elegant script. I opened it carefully, stepping closer to the security light. The letter unfolded like a wound reopening. My dearest Mia, if you're reading this, I'm gone and they've tried to push you aside again. You were always the strong one, the one who sat with me through the pain, who held my hand when the others couldn't bear it. Jake's anger has only grown. Brooke's schemes have cost us more than money. Your father, he loves us, but he looks away. I changed my will to protect what's left. It's yours to manage. Use it to build something real, not prop up their failures. Tears blurred the words. I kept reading, the dock swaying gently beneath me. You deserve to be free of carrying us all. I'm so proud of you. Forgive me for not saying it enough. Love, Mom. I pressed the letter to my chest, the paper warm from my hands. Sobs threatened, but I swallowed them down, tasting salt. The waves below seemed louder now, crashing in rhythm with my heartbeat. All those nights I'd whispered to her unconscious form, promising I'd hold the family together. She had known. She had chosen me. Dad wiped his eyes roughly. She made me promise to give it to you if things went bad. I failed her. I failed you. Ryan cleared his throat, stepping closer. There's more, Mia. I didn't just help with the exclusion. Brooke and I. Years ago, before you and I got serious. It was one night. She used it. Threatened to tell you unless I helped her this weekend. The words landed like a physical blow. I staggered back a step, the heel of my shoe catching on a board. The dock railing pressed into my back. You slept with my sister. It was stupid, drunk, before we were married, he said quickly, reaching out. I slapped his hand away. She brought it up again last month. Said she'd destroy us if I didn't go along with keeping you away from the will reading. I was trapped. The gambling, the debt. I thought I could fix it without you finding out. The betrayal burned through me, hot and deep. I pictured Brooke laughing at family dinners, hugging me while hiding this. Ryan kissing me goodnight while carrying their secret. Mom's letter crinkled in my grip. I filed the divorce papers from the motel. I said, voice low and cold, it's done. Don't ever contact me again. Ryan's face crumpled. Mia, please. We can, no. I turned to Dad. You have a choice now. Them or the truth. I'm done paying for your silence. Dad nodded slowly, broken. I'm sorry, kiddo. I'll stand with you tomorrow. A gust of wind whipped across the lake, tugging at my dress. Lights from the resort flickered in the distance as more guests packed cars. The bonfire had died down to embers. My phone lit up in my clutch with a new message from an unknown number. I opened it with numb fingers. Hospital security footage from Mom's final night just got leaked to the family group. It shows you alone with her at 2:17 a.m. We know what you did. Come to the boathouse now or everyone sees it. I stared at the screen, Mom's letter still clutched in my other hand. The boathouse loomed at the far end of the dock, dark and isolated. Ryan and Dad watched me, waiting. Whatever was waiting in that boathouse held the final piece of this nightmare. The all-OK S53 for at XB Motor. See the boathouse door creaked open under my hand, the wood swollen from years of lake moisture. Inside, the air was thick with the smell of damp rope, gasoline, and mildew. A single bare bulb swung from the ceiling, throwing jittery shadows across old canoes stacked against the walls. My emerald dress, once elegant, now hung heavy with sand and dew, the hem torn from the dock boards. Mom's letter was folded carefully in my clutch. Her words a quiet armor against the storm brewing inside me. Asterisk, they were all there. Asterisk, Brooke stood near a workbench. Arms crossed tight, eyes puffy from crying or rage, I couldn't tell which. Jake paced by the water door, fists clenched at his sides. Dad lingered near the entrance like he might bolt. Ryan hovered in the corner, looking smaller than ever. Even a couple of wide-eyed cousins had been dragged into the confrontation. Asterisk, you leaked the footage. I asked, voice low but steady. The bulb swayed above me, like catching the pearls at my throat. Asterisk Brooke laughed sharply, the sound brittle. We didn't leak anything yet, but we have it. You alone with Mom at 17 a.m. the night she died. What were you doing in there, Mia? Adjusting her morphine. Convincing her to rewrite the will while she was too weak to argue. Asterisk the accusation hit like ice water. I felt the dock's gentle sway beneath us, the lake breathing dark and endless just beyond the open water door. My hands trembled, but I lifted my chin. I was reading to her. Her favorite book. The one you never had time for. She was in pain, and I held her hand until the nurses came. Asterisk Jake stopped pacing. Convenient story. The camera shows you leaning over her for 20 minutes. We can make it look however we want. Asterisk Dad stepped forward, his voice rough with exhaustion. Enough. I saw the footage too. Mia was comforting her. That's all. Asterisk Brooke whirled on him. Of course you defend her. She's always been your favorite. The golden child who swoops in with her big checks while the rest of us live real lives. Asterisk real lives. I stepped closer, the boards groaning under my heels. The air felt charged, heavy with years of resentment. I sat through every doctor's appointment. I negotiated with hospitals so Dad wouldn't lose the house. I paid for Jake's third fresh start and your wedding that cost more than most people's homes. And you thank me by erasing me, but calling me the walking wallet behind my back. Asterisk Jake's face twisted. You loved it. The power. Playing savior so we'd all a you. Asterisk I hated it. I whispered, the truth slipping out raw and painful. Tears stung my eyes, but I let them fall this time. I just wanted to be part of this family. Not the ATM, not the fixer. Just Mia. Asterisk silence stretched, broken only by water lapping against the boathouse pilings. Ryan cleared his throat. Mia, I told them about us. About the affair. It's over. I'm done lying. Asterisk Brooke's head snapped toward him. You idiot. That was our leverage. Asterisk Sarah, who had slipped in quietly behind Jake, let out a choked sound. Leverage. I'm standing right here. Asterisk the cousins shifted uncomfortably, one of them murmuring about leaving. The bulb overhead flickered, casting long shadows that made everyone look like strangers. Asterisk I pulled Mom's letter from my clutch and held it up. She knew. She saw all of this. The new will stands. I control the trust. You get structured payouts, modest ones with conditions. Therapy for Jake, full financial transparency for Brooke's business. No more gambling for any of you. Or we go to court. I have Leela's recordings. The forgeries, everything. Asterisk Dad nodded slowly, eyes glistening. Your mother was right. I'm with Mia on this. Asterisk Jake lunged forward, but stopped short when I didn't flinch. You'd really cut us off? After everything. Asterisk I'm not cutting you off, I said, voice softening just a fraction. The lake wind whistled through the cracks in the walls. I'm giving you a chance to be better. The same chance Mom gave me by trusting me with this. Take it or fight me. But the money dies in court if you do. Asterisk Brooke's shoulders sagged. For the first time all weekend, she looked truly small makeup smudged. Designer dress wrinkled, the perfect sister mask shattered. You always win, don't you? Asterisk this isn't winning. I replied, the weight of Mom's letter heavy in my hand. This is surviving. Asterisk as the group began to fracture, some nodding reluctantly. Others storming out into the pre-dawn gray. I felt the first hints of sunrise warming the eastern sky beyond the boathouse windows. Pinks and oranges bleeding across the lake. Asterisk my phone buzzed one final time. An email from the family lawyer, ceasing everyone. Asterisk final will reading moved to sunrise on the main dock. All parties required. New evidence has surfaced regarding potential criminal tampering. Asterisk I looked up at their faces shocked, angry, broken. Asterisk the real reckoning was just beginning. Sunrise painted the lake in soft pinks and golds, the water calm and glassy as I stood on the main dock exactly 1 year later. The air smelled of fresh pine and coffee brewing from the renovated lake house behind me, my lake house now, but with the inheritance Mom had fought to protect. The emerald dress was gone, replaced by a simple cream sweater and jeans. No pearls today. Just me, a smaller group had gathered this time. Dad sat in a sturdy Adirondack chair, looking healthier than he had in years, a quiet smile on his face as he watched the water. Leela stood beside me, her bakery apron traded for a warm jacket, her hand resting lightly on my shoulder. A few honest cousins chatted softly near a table of fresh pastries and fruit. No lavish catering, no open bar, just real food made with care. No Jake, no Brooke, no Ryan. The divorce had finalized 6 months ago. Ryan's gambling debts were his problem now. Brooke and Jake received modest monthly stipends wired automatically, enough to survive, not enough to scheme. Strict conditions attached, documented therapy, full transparency on finances, no contact unless invited. They had accepted, reluctantly. I still can't believe you pulled this off, Leela said quietly, handing me a warm mug of coffee. Steam curled up between us in the cool morning air. Most people would have burned it all down. I almost did, I admitted, taking a sip. The bitterness grounded me. My gaze drifted to the small urn in my hands, cool ceramic smooth under my fingers. Mom's ashes. But she didn't raise me to destroy. She raised me to build something better. Dad stood slowly and joined us at the edge of the dock. The wood creaked gently under our weight, the same dock where everything had shattered last year. She'd be so proud of you, Mia. The way you handled them. The way you're handling all of us now. I looked at him, really looked. The regret in his eyes had softened into something like peace over the past year. He'd moved closer to the lake house, helped with renovations, and started showing up for Sunday dinners without asking for anything. Small steps, but real ones. I didn't do it alone, I said, voice thick. I glanced at Leela, who had become the sister I never truly had. She had moved her bakery nearby and was thriving without Brooke's threats hanging over her. We stood in silence as the sun climbed higher, turning the lake into liquid gold. I knelt carefully at the edge of the dock, the water lapping softly at the posts below. The urn felt both heavy and impossibly light in my hands. Mom, I whispered, fingers tracing the lid. Tears slipped down my cheeks, warm against the cool morning. Thank you for seeing me, for trusting me. I'm finally free, and I'm not carrying them